What you are saying is once your base quality of life expenses are covered and you have a certain let's say a leeway to deal with some emergency, some financial emergency, after which you start saving your money. And then you do this 1:1:1:0.1 kind of a investment plan. And only after that, which only after that, you start investing in other aspects of the market, for example, direct equity or direct uh, commodity trading or whatever. Does that make sense? Is that am I getting that correctly?
Yeah, so we have used that 1 unit of PPF and multiplied by 3 as our way of understanding what is the minimum capital that is required in order to create a strong foundation or a strong base.
Hmm.
Individuals earning less than, saving less than that, their primary focus should be security of income. They should forget investment in the stock market or commodity market. They
Hmm.
should not be investing anywhere
Hmm.
unless they have real expertise to back that investment.
Makes sense.
And
Makes
it is
sense.
only when they take that decision, the real
Hmm.
expertise to back that investment. So, for example, someone is saving less than 5 lakhs a year in this case,
Hmm.
4.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs a year in this case. The individual is saving less than that. And but the individual is an expert tailor,
Hmm.
really good at weaving or stitching or something related to that profession. Then yes, then such a person can, after having made these investments, if there is certain saving above this, preferably after having made these investments, if there is certain saving above this, the person allocates it to this business of weaving.
Hmm.
And in the event he or she skips these three, and allocates all of it in the business of weaving, then the objective of doing that is all in order to fund these three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, for example, let's just say you are an expert in making baking bread, and
Hmm.
you are running your bakery business. All right, and you are also working as an employee in a
Hmm.
company, because of which you are saving, let us say, 100 rupees.
Hmm.
Now you have a choice here. 100 is not equal to, let us say, you are saving 3 lakh rupees, which is not equal to our minimum quota of roughly 5 lakh rupees required. What we discussed at per unit, per individual, per
Yeah.
household. And but you also have this thing about baking bread, running a bakery. So
Hmm.
yes, of course, in such a case, you will take the gambit. You will not
Hmm.
invest it in these three, and you will invest it in your bakery business with the objective of earning enough money so that you can fund these three.
Hmm.
So the question of coming into direct stock market and direct commodity market is way secondary.
Wait a second. Makes sense.
And that's the reason why, even if you see it today, they say like there's less than 2 or 3% of India which is genuinely in the market. Why
Hmm.
is that? Because less than that percentage actually save that kind of money. The others are there in the market, but they will not be there in the market after 3 to 5, 10 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, like so my point is that, so why does 50% of the US, so they give you those numbers online, 30% of China invest, or 50% of Hong Kong invest, or 70% of US invest? Why? Because they're meeting these 3 points. Like they have a certain security somewhere, or they're certain the GDP per capita is 25 times ours,
Hmm.
30 times ours. So
Hmm.
logically, they will, where else to go now? Not everyone who's making money is also an expert weaver.
Hmm. Makes
So
sense.
they, when they try to gain expertise in investing and trading,
Hmm.
it is their journey to take. It is not everyone's journey to take. If someone is pulling the rickshaw and they have money, and if that money is required in order to get upgrade to better tires or to do due diligence and maintenance of the vehicle they are working on, then so be it. Then obviously you can't put it in the PPF.
Hmm.
But after having done this object exercise, when they save the money, then they should go back to PPF. They
Hmm.
should not be looking at what Akshat Srivastav is saying or Abhishek Kar is saying in order to take a decision on where their life savings have to go. And you just have to be reasonable and practical about this, is what I feel. And
Hmm.
getting health insurance so on done is absolutely critical. And of course, when to take on a life insurance, for example, only if you have a liability on you do you take a life insurance. So, for example, I'm a qualified doctor
Hmm.
and I'm working in a hospital and I'm
Hmm.
earning, say, 2 lakh rupees a month.
Hmm.
All right. Should I get a life insurance? I wouldn't get a life insurance. I wouldn't get a life insurance. But if I were a qualified doctor who has decided to set up his own hospital,
Hmm.
and in the process of doing so, I have used my land or house as collateral,
Hmm.
raise the funds. And now the concern is that what happens if something happens to the doctor before the hospital is created and fully, then your family will take a huge setback.
Hmm.
So in order to avoid that, if you have loan on you,
Hmm.
then which is and you have used your own personal assets to get that loan on you, only then do you go and get yourself health insured. Because
Okay.
sorry, life insured, life
Like,
insured. Only then do you get yourself life insured because you have backed your house, you have used your house as mortgage, and if something happens to you in the process, the banks will strip that belonging off of you,
yeah.
of your family, which will lower their quality of life, and that's not the objective of the exercise.
Hmm.
The objective is everything we do secures quality of life and then upgrades it.
Hmm.
So no one is saying that if you're a doctor, you should not set up your own hospital, or even if you're not a doctor, you should not set up your own hospital. You can go ahead and do it, but if you're taking on loan for doing that, then be responsible. And if I were to take a 100 rupee loan on myself, then I would go and get myself life insured by say 150, 200 rupees.
Hmm. So,
Because yeah,
continue.
because
Sorry.
in, each of these three investments that we are making, some of them is going to grow outlandishly.
Hmm.
It's possible that equities almost inevitably do, but it is also possible that commodities might do. And
Hmm.
PPF is an excellent instrument. I've already elaborated on that. So now, each of these instruments have a nominee, anyways.
Hmm.
So if you are to back these instruments for 5 to 10 years, you typically end up saving the exact amount as what you're getting yourself health insured for today, life insured for today. I'm sorry.
So, again, to simplify things, and to put it in another way, is what you're trying to say is doesn't make sense for someone like me, who has just started working, to get a life insurance.
Absolutely no. Unless you have a loan on you, which
Does
will
the
set your
education
family
loan
back.
count? It's not
What
a,
happens
sorry.
if you default? What happens if you default? Like say, for example, if today someone were to pass away, not you, but let's say there is a person who's 25 who has an education loan ongoing. If that person just passes away,
Hmm.
what happens to the loan? Do they take your? Do they ask you to sell your flat? Do they ask you to sell your car? And who do they ask?
Hmm.
Can this seize any property under your name, and so that it will not be passed on to rightful inheritor of that property?
Hmm.
Uh, unless that is happening, you don't need to.
Okay.
If that is happening, then of course you need to, because there's real threat. If something happens to you before you pay off your loan, they could take away your parents' house.
Hmm.
If a person has a loan on them, I wonder why are they even in the securities market? Just clear
Hmm.
the loan
Okay.
first. You want to, I mean, in certain
Huh.
cases, it is practically impossible to clear the loan before its tenure, or it is simply a huge waste of money to do it. Fair
Hmm.
enough. If your CA advises you, or if such are the terms and conditions of the liability that you have taken,
Hmm.
that you have to honor it for that duration, and it is in your best interest to do so. That's an exception. But you have an ongoing loan on you,
Hmm.
and you have allocated some of that money into the market. I think that's being very, very reckless. You have an
Okay.
education loan on you not to earn money from the stock market, actually. You have an
Hmm.
education loan typically in India in order to confirm income security,
Hmm.
right? And if you have income security, then why confirm it so that you can square off that loan? Because loan could be for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, but income security is likely for life.
Hmm.
Therefore, you are right. So a lot of people do that. I know a lot of people. And first of all, when I talk about health insurance, you need to really think of practical examples where a person decides to set up his own garage, set
Hmm.
up their own boutique. They look like just a shop, but the investments behind them are huge. The person has all of a sudden an inventory of 50 lakh rupees worth of sarees now. What to do with that if it doesn't sell? It's a huge risk now that person is carrying, right? And maybe that 50 lakhs is borrowed from the market.
Hmm.
So the bank is not going to take the sari back. They want the 50 lakh back. So such a person who has taken loan from the market, that person should get him or herself insured, life insured, because the family could come on the streets. But if the loan amount is just 1 or 2 lakhs, then or if it's a credit
That's
card, typically they just forego it actually, the person, because the amount is so less. It's usually
okay.
not worth chasing the person down for it. But I do not
Makes
know
sense.
what's the protocol on it. I do not know what's the detailed protocol on it. But if
Huh.
yeah, but that's the point. Yeah.
Having said that, like, you, so a lot of people, like a lot of, let's say YouTube channels, a lot of people would suggest that you should get a life insurance and a health insurance when you're young because your premiums are less. What are your thoughts on that?
Health insurance for sure. No
Hmm.
argument.
Hmm.
Life insurance, what's that got to do with the premium? I mean, even if something is free, you're also going to live very long. No? That's why your life insurance premium is low. No?
Hmm.
So, what is the probability of a 20-year-old just passing away in a country where average life expectancy is 70? So, we
Makes
are
sense.
talking average life expectancy here. I mean, if you really do financially well, then typically you exceed the averages even in living.
Hmm.
So India's average life expectancy in the 1900s might have been 20. So it's a great product to have, insurance. But
Hmm.
that time, no one will sell life insurance. They will only
Okay.
sell you life insurance when your average expectancy is beyond a certain level where it is profitable for them to sell you life insurance. The fact that insurance companies exist only is an indicative of an uplifting economic standard. So I do not agree. Like, for example, I don't have a life insurance. I'll just clarify. I don't have any life insurance on
Hmm.
me. I definitely have health insurance.
Hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah. Furthermore, obviously, we are engaged or we are talking because I'm predominantly invested in the markets. But now I have a family of six.
Hmm.
All right. That's my parents, wife, and I, and two children.
Okay.
So we, in the family of six, we don't have NPS. We don't have NPS because of my direct involvement in the stock market to such a huge extent.
Hmm.
So if NPS is 0.4%, for me, brokerage is 0 rupees equity, which is much cheaper than zero point 0.4 also. So it makes sense for me to go into direct equities over NPS,
Hmm.
right? Making sense? Because I'm so heavily invested, my predominant activity is the market. So I
Yeah.
decided to not put anything in the NPS. But sovereign gold bond and PPF. So PPF is there for all the six members of the family. And for my daughter, there is a PPF plus Sukanya Samriddhi.
Okay.
So which means 10.5 lakh rupees a year is simply going into a 20-year, 25-year debt fund with no intention of taking it out.
Hmm.
That is like, and that I would consider as baseline because these things exist is the reason why I'm somewhere there. So what do I
Makes
do with
sense.
the money? Like 1st of April, like within the 1st to 5th of April, I'm putting money in everyone's PPF and Sukanya Samriddhi.
Hmm.
I'm getting the insurance premium done.
Hmm.
I'm buying gold bonds come every quarter, so I keep buying them. I also physically buy gold. I also actually buy gold and sell gold physically. It's a hobby. It's a
Okay.
passion. I do that with diamonds. I do that with pearls. Because bullish commodity market, no, I told you.
Hmm.
That's why I
Yep.
have a graduation in gemology because the
Okay.
commodity market is bullish.
Hmm.
And the only reason why I'm not going crazy in buying exotic gems like diamonds, etc., is because I'm concerned. What if the rupee indeed appreciates and I end up buying it when rupee is at its least value? That's what is holding me back
Okay.
in taking physical. So my point is that what I have suggested here is exactly what I do, but to a far greater extent, and I have benefited from it extremely well. I would not carry a life insurance on me because I actually have not a single rupee loan on me. There is no loan on me. So
Hmm.
if something were to happen to me, my nominees would simply get my investments. That's it.
Hmm.
The jackpot is what I'm doing only. It is not what they're going to get after my life insurance for them. And my role is to be able to educate them to be able to use that money. Because your problem is how do I use my 5 lakh rupees a year effectively? right?
Hmm.
Think of a person who might be making 5 crore rupees a year effectively. Look at the complexity of decision making that person has to go
Yeah.
through.
Hmm.
It's not who I do. Like, so I had a client, the client said that I'm planning to take up a distributorship of, I think, MRF for his son.
Hmm.
Not cheap. 2.5, 3 crore rupees. His entire retirement corpus is going into buying a tire distribution franchisee.
Hmm.
Why don't you just buy 2.5 crore rupees worth of tire stocks? If you feel MRF distribution is going to do well, then most likely tire in general might do well. But if you feel MRF is only going to do well, then just buy MRF stocks. Now, the only question is at what value, what support, what quantity, etc., etc. This is something that a trader can help you with.
Hmm.
I mean, so you see, that's the decision. How, what do I do with 2.5 crore rupees? Should I buy a flat? Should I start a business? Should I have a franchisee? Should I invest here? Should I invest there? Such decisions, then you have a lot of options, and that is actually where your training comes into play. But for
Makes sense.
a household of 5 people, saving up to 25 lakh rupees a year, there is no requirement only for you to even study the subject of investments to that extent in the country. Just little bit. Hopefully, this
Makes sense.
conversation will suffer.
Now this conversation is getting me to a point where I feel like I should just stop my life insurance actually, because I have a life insurance on me. And from whole of
Yeah,
this conversation, I feel should I just stop, like, let the money that I've
everything.
paid go and just stop the
Yeah,
payments?
now you will understand why I would not look at your individual cryptos. I
Hmm.
would not look at your individual stocks simply because if you have not done this only, then what's the point of doing this?
Yeah.
So even though you could be in a profit or you could be in a loss, it's regardless. It's a business. That's
Yeah.
not the concern. You're not in the right direction.
Hmm.
You're in the right direction theoretically, yes, because you're exploring so many products, and that's partly you're spending time and resources, and that's why you're having this dialogue. For example,
Hmm.
you committed something somewhere, right? So you are in that direction. But if I had to steer the course of the direction, I would say, do this
Hmm.
first. Few say, see, investments are a problem for a person who has surplus money. They are not a
Makes
problem for
sense.
a person who doesn't have money.
Hmm.
Okay. And this is a message that needs to go down for people your age that just because it is easy to pick up a knight and a pawn on the chessboard does not mean you're going to become a chess grandmaster. It is physically very easy to play chess.
Yeah.
Similarly, it is physically very easy to execute a trade. But to be in the top, I don't know what, 0.3, 0.4 percentile of the world, so that you could end up making a living out of this, makes it is it is reasonable to even head in that direction if your problem is surplus money.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Because this is one of the other reasons. Because for me, what that is my most concern, that am I even going in the right direction with my finances? And that I think solves. Like, while I may not do exactly what you have said in the sense of like a 1:1:1:0.1 ratio, but I think I would like to get quite close to that. I
It's
would
very
still.
difficult to get it there because sovereign gold bonds don't come out at a time when you control it.
Yeah.
Sovereign gold bonds are not going to be something that is going to be there forever. Like I told you, very few countries in the world have historically allowed their citizens to own gold. Very few countries,
Hmm.
they are allowed to do that. They are allowing you to do that. I'm telling you, it's a window. It's a
Hmm.
brief window. Yeah. So, so it's not like these rules remain the same forever, but the framework should be there that I need to go in the least possible risk, lowest possible cost instrument, and across asset classes right from my first rupee.
Hmm.
That should be the approach. And then when you meet that requirement, when you've crossed the threshold where there is a compulsion now to
Hmm.
go into other asset classes, that is when we discuss how old are you, how much are you saving, what are your current expenses, what are the loans on you. Then we choose, okay, you can go into this instrument. Now, is sub में करने में FNO trading comes where now?
Where either
It comes,
so for.
yeah, it is really gone. It's really changed.
Hmm.
Like it's not for everyone. And if you're, it's almost like saying that I've decided to become a Olympic gymnast.
Hmm.
At the age of 50, with this body structure, if I take that kind of a decision, chances are you're only going to be injured. You're not going to
Yeah.
win a gold there. So similarly, someone who is not got a PPF, someone who doesn't have health insurance, someone who doesn't have basic exposure to gold, no basic, limited or no exposure to mutual fund, that person is getting into options.
Hmm.
And that there is a person in the world selling him that course, right? I mean, that's the gap.
Hmm.
So
Makes
so
sense.
more and more people will come into trading and investing, not because only because the stock market is growing. It is simply because more and more people are getting richer.
Hmm.
That's the proof of why they're coming in the market. It's not got anything to. So when people say, aaj sirf 5% of India is there, tomorrow 50% of India will come, then imagine what will be the valuation. If 50% of India is going to come, the stock market moves at 1.25 times the GDP. If your GDP grows at 8%, the stock market grows at 10%. Real terms, mein.
Hmm.
It is
Okay.
linked with it. So if your GDP is growing, more people are having more money, then obviously they are going to you're going to see a rising stock market. And if you're going to see a rising stock market, like I told you, economics ka that principle is wrong. Trading ka principle is correct. If something rises, more and more people jump in it.
Makes
The
sense.
the message we are trying to send here is that don't do it before your time.
Hmm.
Unless you are the expert weaver, that exceptional case that we discussed.
Yeah.
Even if I want security of income, somehow my path that I've chosen is relies on my expertise, not so much on a institutional framework.
Makes
That's a
sense.
different.
So I think this is from what you're saying is, while a generalized example should be what you have said, while everyone should ideally follow some framework of what you have suggested, it is a personal journey that one follows, and it can vary from a person to person. For
Person
example,
to person.
if someone decides to be like, okay, I want to be a forex trader from tomorrow, while it
Hmm.
may or may not be the right choice, we don't know until it has been chosen. That person is inherently deciding on the fact that he has a certain ability in being able to make money from his projects, forex trading practices. In that
Yeah.
case, you would say, okay, maybe do not invest that much money in your this 1:1:1 2.1 ratio of savings. Invest some in your
Hmm.
forex, but you have chosen to
So
take
that you
that
could,
risk.
so that you could eventually maintain that.
Huh.
So it's a very
Okay.
temporary phase that we are looking at. So you are giving forex trading as an example. I gave weaving as an
Weaving
example.
as an example. Yeah.
So, okay, forex trading is a better. So you saved 50,000 this year. You decided to become a forex trader. Why? So that you could
Hmm.
fund your PPF, so that you could get a health insurance, so that you could buy some gold, so that you can get some national pension scheme ke through equity exposure. That is
Hmm.
why. Not so that you could do shopping right away.
Makes sense. Makes sense. No, that genuinely makes a lot
So,
of sense because,
so that forex trader के लिए forex trading is the same as आपके लिए advertising and media and broadcasting is.
huh, yeah, makes sense. The reason why I specifically bought up trading was because a lot of people my age, I don't know how or I don't know why. I mean, I know, but the exposure is such that investing it directly in the stock market is considered the way to go.
By people
At
who,
least in my group,
yeah,
at least in
obviously,
my group.
no, for sure. See, you must understand that 98% of people in the finance industry would be marketing background.
Hmm.
I'm just giving a number here to exaggerate a point that in order to succeed in the financial services industry, you need to be good at marketing and sales.
Hmm.
Right. Like, for example, I have a financial services industry. You've heard of these ULIP plans, your insurance linked investment plans.
Huh. I've heard of
ULIPs.
it, but I've never researched.
So it's something like this. You put 1 lakh rupee every year in your ULIP, let's say for 10 years. And then
Hmm.
for the next years, they will give you back 2 lakh rupees every year, something like that. Okay.
Hmm.
It's a like that, like guaranteed.
Hmm.
Right? Now, do you know what is the commission that I will get in case you invest 1 lakh rupee in the first year of that ULIP plan? I get paid 42,000 rupees. as
Okay.
commission. The
Hmm.
person who sells you the ULIP is given 40% of your first year investment simply for selling you the ULIP. And then every time you make the investment, you get 2.5% of the commission. That's why you will always hear do it in ULIP.
Hmm.
Someone somewhere is getting paid out of it, right? Since no one is getting paid to tell you to go into PPF, you're not
Hmm.
hearing only PPF. म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, सचिन तेंदुलकर बोल रहा है, धोनी बोल रहा है, हर कोई बोल रहा है, बट पीपीएफ नहीं बोल रहा है.
Huh.
There is not a single party in the world that benefits except you when you invest in the PPF.
Hmm.
There is no one who can take. That's why it is low cost. No one
Yeah.
benefits if you go in NPS. That is why what you will have a CFA, CA, MBA finance, FRM, your CFP. What are they doing? They're selling mutual funds only.
Hmm.
For the rest of it, if you buy a mutual fund with a 1% expense ratio from me, I get 0.7% of your lifelong investments from you. What a win for me. One time sale, lifelong pay.
But then there are direct
So
mutual funds as well, right?
done now. So then the company gets paid. Someone is getting paid.
Someone is getting paid. Yeah.
Regular means a particular channel got in between, and
Hmm.
direct means that you skipped that channel. Fair enough.
Hmm.
And you skipped the channel. Why? Because you have 5,000 rupee SIP to do. So you skipped it. If you have 50 lakh rupee SIP to do, you're not going to consult a person in the world, you're telling me. It's not going to happen like that. You're
Makes
going to
sense.
consult someone, and that someone is going to be a CFP, CA, or FRM, something, something, something,
Hmm.
CA maybe. And that person is going to have an AMFI registration, and that person is going to sell you that fund, and he or she is going to take the payment from you for the rest of the duration of your investment of the fund.
Hmm.
Therefore, you will always hear people say ki, some mutual fund is Canara Robeco fund is awesome, or I don't know, some other fund is awesome. This quant based fund is awesome. And it's not required only till you are not rich enough.
Hmm.
And then if you're rich enough, then why mutual fund? Then you'll go for an AIF or PMS and so on and so forth. Have you ever seen on television an ad of a hedge fund, AIF category 3?
No.
No. Why? Because an AIF category 3 has a minimum investment requirement of 1 crore. So if they have a minimum investment requirement of 1 crore, like how you have 500 rupees for PPF and mutual fund,
Yeah.
they are saying minimum is 1 crore. So
Hmm.
now the question is, why are they not doing it on TV? You know why? Because people who have 1 crore rupees to invest don't watch TV,
Hmm.
or they don't take their investment decisions based on what is happening on TV. The
Yeah.
person who's saving 1 crore plus in a year, 99.9% of the products that are shown on television are not applicable for that person. He's not going to buy the same car that you have. He's not going to buy a house in the same address that you have bought. He or she is not going to have the same vendor for jewelry. They are not going to visit the same hospitals as you. Nothing is similar as you. So how are they buying all these things then? The channel is only different.
Hmm.
So if you were saying that, I'm saving 1.5 crore rupee a year, what should I do? I would say, come to me.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
if you are saying I'm saving 1.5 lakh rupee a year, then I'm asking, why are you coming to me? Your problems are so easily solved with just this much.
Makes sense. So I think it's the exposure that has also made this. For example, for me and a lot of people my age, it has just been pushed that mutual funds is what you should do. Or yeah, and gold bonds are something that haven't really come up. PPF has never really come up. It was me who actually wanted to get to know these things, and hence I got to know these things. And even when people used to come to talk to me, I would have always suggested, okay, get a mutual fund instead of a PPF, right?
Yeah.
But for me, my thinking was wrong in on the fundamental level,
I
and
wouldn't
I
say
think,
wrong. I wouldn't say wrong. You thought about it, you acted in that direction, and then you thought about something else, you acted in that direction. Now I have given you some information. Now you'll think about it and act in that direction.
hmm,
I wouldn't
huh,
say wrong. It is just that I have benefited so much from a PPF investment in my life. It's so stress free.
makes sense.
It's so relaxing compared to what I do every day. Uh, It almost feels like yeah, it almost feels like the purpose of saving money to some extent.
Hmm.
I can literally send a child, I know it, I can send a child to Harvard, Wharton, London School of Economics if I have to, from the sum that is going to get matured from the set of PPFs that we're getting without taking on any loan. I have not taken a student loan for precisely that reason. Every time I reached a critical level, something was getting matured somewhere.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Huh. And I think that's also what's important. Like once you have a corpus that's gonna come to you after a certain period of time, you're forced to not use it, which also means that by that time it's huge enough for you to actually make something out of it if you're
Yeah.
doing things consistently.
Yeah. So imagine you are, let us say, for example, uh, I can give it to you in guarantee. You know, the how people lose money is when they get more money than their capability. That is how you lose money. Money is the most efficient barometer of efficiency. It moves from the least efficient to the more efficient source very efficiently. For example, Indian textile industry. Bangladesh introduced child labor. The entire textile industry shifted to Bangladesh. Money doesn't care about ethics. These are our ethics that we will not use children for work. But if they are low cost, the industry shifts there. So now what happens if you give a person say 50 lakh rupees, 1 crore rupees, 10 crore rupees, and that person has no experience of with money, the person is going to lose it.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult being the son of Ambani, Adani? Why? Because you are born like everyone else, but you have enormous resources and you don't have the default capability to use it. You need to spend your life to learn how to use those resources. Imagine the money problems they have. They have so much money that if they do not allocate it somewhere, that money is going to simply slip off from them. It's not just going to slip off from them, it is simply going to be net negative for them. There is
Hmm.
not a generation in the world that has not lost money if they didn't do anything. Money is going to leave you and go. Sit on a back then when I was your age, there was, I don't know if that number is still applicable or not, but we used to say अगर मेरे अकाउंट में 1 करोड़ हो ना, मैं आज के आज इस मैनेजर के मुंह पे चांटा मार के जॉब छोड़ के चला जाऊं. That is what you used to say when you are frustrated with work.
Hmm.
ठीक है. बट व्हाट वी डिडंट अंडरस्टैंड इज कि वो 1 करोड़ आएगा कहाँ से, और अगर वो 1 करोड़ आ गया, मैंने जो भी किया ना वो 1 करोड़ लाने के लिए, मैं वही करूंगा आगे भी,
Yeah.
बिकॉज दैट इज द मोस्ट प्रॉफिटेबल बिहेवियर ऑफ माई लाइफ.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So how you make the money, and that is where I'm saying that if you are, let's say for example, you made 20,000 or 50,000 or 70,000 or 100,000 rupees from your investing,
Hmm.
ask yourself in this much time how much did you make from other sources. And if you think that no, my growth rate in investing is so much, my growth rate from other sources are so much, then I'll just say if you're investing, give it 8 years to determine what your growth rate is. And even more than that, see, we need to understand what was the problem in your portfolio. You know what was the problem in the portfolio? That the portfolio amount is too less.
Hmm.
If you want to, like your portfolio amount is say 100,000 rupees you have invested and you made say 70,000 or 60,000 rupees or whatever
Yeah.
value you've made. This is
Hmm.
assuming equity portfolio. And if I balance it off with the losses in the crypto, then all of a sudden you are at par with the market only in general.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right. The problem is that even after making 50-70% in the equity market, you are not confident enough to allocate more money in that market. In
Hmm.
other words, your decisions could be random, your decisions are not planned well enough, or you have taken certain decisions which are not, which don't give you only confidence,
Hmm.
right? So the I don't look at कि इसने percentage कितना कमाया. I see कि इसने डाला
हाँ.
कितना. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine called me up and said, you know, I studied this stock. It was a great stock. It was so undervalued. I did my research, etc., etc. I made 30% in 3 months.
Hmm.
So since you are a professional trader, tell me, is 30% in 3 months good? I'm like, कि, वो छोड़ 30% in 3 months, you tell me how much did you invest?
Hmm.
He said, वो छोड़ना कि कितना डाला है. I invested 30% in 3 months. I'm like, नहीं, नहीं, नहीं. How much did you invest? He said 1 lakh rupee or something like that. I'm like, you have a bungalow. You are the son of an industrialist, like 3 industries you're running.
Hmm.
ठीक है. And after all of this research that you're telling me, you put 1 lakh buck, which is like 0 point some percentage of your net worth. So
Yeah.
you are only telling me now how good your research is. If you were so confident only, you would have put a percentage of your net worth, 5% of your net worth. No?
Hmm.
So, what is the purpose of having all of these processes and trading disciplines and systems? Is to be able to give you confidence to allocate more money into your own system.
Makes
If
sense.
you don't have confidence only, then if your base is only very tiny, non-existent base, then what good are your percentage returns then? Percentage returns, etc., are relevant. Like if Warren Buffett earned, he's considered like a legend, and he is because he made 20% CAGR.
Hmm.
What grew at 20% CAGR? You think his net income grew or his net worth grew?
His net worth.
His net worth
Yeah.
grew. So total salary is 1 lakh, and you're like, I want to be like Warren Buffett. I want to make 1 lakh 20,000 next year. Fair enough.
Hmm.
Then you want to make 1 lakh 44,000 next year. Fair enough. But that is, you are not even going to come close to Warren Buffett. He didn't
Hmm.
grow his income. He grew his net worth by 20%. And to grow your net worth by 20% is the challenge. And now the one of the most efficient places to grow your net worth is the market.
Hmm.
But uske pehle you need to determine what is your net worth.
No,
And you
that.
need to meet a net worth in order to come in the market is what is my argument here. If you are an
Hmm.
individual, if saving more than 5 lakh a year, please come to the market. But
Hmm.
if you're a father of 3 children, taking care of your parents, please don't come till you're making 30 lakhs a year. Your investment needs for your entire family are solved in the what is just Google small saving schemes. You will get Kisan Vikas Patra, you will get some post office this thing. उनमें से मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ कि PPF and Sukanya Samriddhi are the best in small
Hmm.
saving schemes because they're your only subsidies to the middle class. They provide a really strong base. They give you an exposure across asset class, and therefore after that, studying the stock market for you should be just about as useful as studying economics is for me, which is just fun, just
Hmm.
entertainment. इट इज माई चॉइस ऑफ एंटरटेनमेंट कि जस्ट एक मजा आ रहा है मुझे देखने में और मेरे को जिस चीज पे मजा आता है मैं उस पर 500 रुपये खर्चता हूँ या 1,000 रुपये दैट इज ऑल सो
Hmm.
नथिंग मोर देन अ बुक इकोनॉमिक्स विल आई स्पेंड ऑन if someone tells me to do something significant on it, first of all, I don't know what's a practical example of it. My point being that this is recreation now. It is just that I have an academic bent of mind, and my recreation is, say, economics. Someone who has a someone who's more gregarious, their recreation could be, let's say, clubbing or something. Fair enough.
Hmm.
So
I think I
investments should
was.
be
Sorry, continue, continue.
investments should be seen as a recreational activity if you're not meeting certain thresholds, and there is only a certain amount you should put to your recreation. लाखों डाल दोगे कई महीनों का सैलरी डाल दोगे, that is being irresponsible.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, I think I have a lot to think of, and maybe once I also put my thought together, we can get on another call and see how, where, what other things we can talk about then.
Yeah, hold your portfolio as it is. Just start put 1.5 lakh in your PPF.
Yeah,
Get your health insurance done. Whenever the next gold bond comes, buy it. Put 1.5 lakh in your NPS, like literally tomorrow, day after, if you can. Yeah.
yeah.
Once 3 lakh rupees are gone from your account, then we will see if you still have money to invest.
Hmm. Makes
If you
sense.
still have, if you still have money to, 3 to 4.5 lakh rupees are gone from the account,
Hmm.
then we'll see. If you still have money to invest, then we'll talk about stocks.